when you write a book, the first thing you have to do is make sure that there's an audience for your book. You have to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that nobody else has written anything like what you've written, and you have to have a hook or an angle that's going to cause people to want to look at the book and read it.
Hey everyone, this is Jen Foster with the Elite Publishing Podcast, and we're here with Doug Knoll. He is not just one author, but he has 5 books. His 5th book is coming out this fall called The Empathy Leadership, and we're really excited to interview him about how he uses affect labeling to help people to mitigate and to not have arguments and to know how to calm down. So, Doug, welcome.
Thanks, Jen. Great to be here, and I love talking about book publishing and writing because I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, well, tell us before you wrote your first book, what made you decide I want to write a book?
I started my career as a trial lawyer,
Hmm.
and in mid career, I decided that I didn't want to be a trial lawyer anymore, even though I was really good at it, made a lot of money at it. I wanted to do something that where I could really serve people. So I went back to school and earned my master's degree in peacemaking and conflict studies. And my master's thesis was basically my first book.
Hmm.
At the time, I'm also a law professor, and at the time, I was teaching a course called Peacemaking for Lawyers. And what I was trying to do is teach law students that the law does not respond to human conflict very well, and that there's a whole broad base of knowledge that lawyers should have, because when clients come into their office, typically they've got a conflict, they got a problem. And if you are limited with blinders on to just the law, you're going to miss a lot. Excuse me, you're going to
Hmm.
miss a lot.
Yeah.
My first book was called Peacemaking, Practicing at the Intersection of Law and Human Conflict. And it was a textbook. If the book's not out there and you're teaching a class, you go ahead and write
Yeah.
yourself a book. So that was my first experience in writing. And that was a long book. It's 450 pages long. It was a
And it
lot of
started
work.
as a thesis and then turned
Pardon
into
me? It
a
was
textbook.
basically taking my thesis and turning
Yeah.
it into a textbook.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started. And I didn't expect that I was going to write any more books. That was a project and a half.
I bet.
But 7 years later, roughly, maybe 4 years later, I was collaborating with a colleague of mine. We had a small consulting business, and he mentioned the idea about how we were facing diversity. This is back in 2006, 2007.
Hmm.
How there was all this movement towards diversity, but everybody got it wrong,
Hmm.
and they were really screwing up. So we decided to write a book on how to lead diversity. And the book was called Sex, Politics, and Religion at the Office. And this one we
Pretty
decided
good
to,
title. Mm.
yeah, this one we decided to self-publish. So we formed a little publishing company and we published it ourselves. And I learned all about self-publishing
Yeah.
and about being a co-author, which
Hmm.
is an interesting experience. So
Nice.
again, I thought, oh, I'm done with that. No more writing. So
Hmm.
then in 2012, 2011, 2012, I read a really interesting, this is at the time, yeah, this is just when the I was a co-founder of Prison of Peace with my colleague Laurel Coffer, and in 2010 we started training life inmates and long-term inmates in California prisons how to stop prison violence. And at that time, I was writing what turned out to be my third book called Elusive Peace. And the instigation of this book was a book that I read called The Truth About Camp David, and it was talking about in the 1999 when President Clinton hosted, I can't even remember all the names now, the Israelis and the Palestinians at Camp David, and was mediating, trying to get a peace agreement. And he got the usual roadblocks that we always get in mediation, and he had no clue how to mess with it. And he made every single rookie mistake that an unskilled mediator can make, and set back the work of peace for decades because
Yeah.
he just didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
So I got really interested in that, and I got interested. I wonder how many other mediations fail in international diplomacy, and I started doing the research, and I was shocked. Even the best agency, which is a Nations agency, only got a 20% settlement rate.
Wow.
When the United States diplomatic corps was involved in mediation, 5% success rate.
Mm.
The ANC, or the African Organization of African States, OAS, I think it is, They had a pretty good success rate, 15%. So I got really curious. Why is it that in commercial mediation, we typically get 90 to 95% success rates?
Yeah.
And in international disputes, it's 10, 15,
That's so
20%.
low.
And so I started studying it. And what I found out was it's because the people that do the mediations, as a general proposition, don't know what they're doing.
Mm.
When people like Jerry Roscoe, is a colleague, he mediated the case between the Murdochs and I think it was Dominion.
Mhm.
Murdoch ended up paying
Yeah.
Dominion $780 million. Jerry mediated that on vacation in Germany over the telephone, over
Wow.
Zoom. But Jerry made his bones by mediating in Serbia
Hmm.
with Milosevic and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and working with the U.S. State Department. He was effective, and they were able to bring a close to the war. But that's because he's a super highly skilled guy.
Yeah.
But he's really rare in the international diplomatic corps. So Elusive Peace is basically an examination of all of that
Yeah.
and looking at all the failures and what happened and describing the history of the modern history of international mediation. And said basically we're using 15th century techniques to try to solve 21st century problems, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
And what was interesting, that book, none of these first three books were commercially, they didn't do well. Commercially, they didn't do well. I won a bunch of book awards, but that's about it. But I did get a lot of back channel from people in the Foreign Service who said, thank God you wrote this book. We cannot publicly endorse it. It'd be
Yeah.
the end of our careers, but you nailed it, and thank
Yeah.
you. So that was pretty nice.
Hmm.
That led to, then of course, now I'm involved in the prison project from 2010 to 2020. And all of our students, incarcerated students, they knew I was an author because I've been talking about Elusive Peace. And we actually took a piece of that book called How to Mediate Evil and brought it into the curriculum. That led to them asking me to write a book that they could share with their families because they were all transforming. They were all growing and doing
Yeah.
amazing things. And that their families could see the growth. And we're asking, what are you doing that's teaching you all this?
Yeah.
So there's people, these two lawyers, Laurel Coffer and Doug Knoll, are coming in and teaching this. And so they said, could you please write a book? So I did. That book, we sold to Simon and Schuster. They picked it right up. And it turned out to be one of the fastest books that they've ever published. It was like a sprint to get it done. And now that book's done really well. That book's done really well. 60,000 copies sold, 4 languages.
Hmm.
So it's done really well. And now I've got the leadership coming out in the fall.
Right. So the Simon and Schuster one, did you have to get a book agent and pitch it, or did you?
Yeah, I have an agent, and
Yeah.
she pitched it to one publishing company who took 6 weeks to make a decision and said, he's too smart for our audience. And then she pitched it to Beyond Words, Atria, Simon and Schuster, and they said, we want this book.
Yeah.
And so we signed. It was
That's
like
fine.
1 week, and we had a
Okay.
deal. I became a Simon and Schuster author, and it was completely different experience than all my other publishing experiences. But here's the thing about book publishing: whether you're go with a large publishing house like Simon and Schuster, or you self-publish, or you do something in between, the work is not in writing the book. The work is in the marketing. Writing the book is just 1% of the effort.
Yes.
Everybody thinks writing the book is everything. No, writing the book is nothing.
The
It's
marketing.
nothing. You have to, when you write a book, the first thing you have to do is make sure that there's an audience for your book. You have to make sure that nobody else has written anything like what you've written. And you have to have a hook or an angle that's going to cause people to want to look at the book and read it.
Right.
And you've got to plan your marketing strategies as you're writing the book, or even before you're writing the book.
Yes. And so that being said, on the Simon and Schuster Advance, was there a portion of that they wanted you to use for marketing?
No, they don't care how I used my advance.
Okay, that's good.
But this time around, 5th book, I got it. I finally figured it out, and I'm putting a ton of money into marketing. I'm spending right now. We're talking right now in late March 2026. Books coming out in September, and I'm spending easily $15,000 a month
In marketing.
in marketing and PR and everything else.
Yeah.
And that's what to do.
And
And there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that it's going to work.
right.
None.
But a part of the podcasting, being interviewed on other people's podcasts,
Sure.
is
So
getting
the
that
marketing
audience.
That's right. That's
Because you
right.
have a pre-order. It's pre-order right now. You can buy it, right?
You can pre-order. That's right. You can go to any book site, major book site online, and you can pre-order the book. And that's the key, because if you want to qualify for bestseller status, you've got to have at least 4,000 to 5,000 pre-orders to be able to claim national bestseller. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
have 6 to 8,000 to get on the Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestseller list, and New York Times, which everybody wants, is really hard. That's usually about 10 to 12,000 pre-orders. And even if you do that, there's no guarantee, because there's a huge amount of subjectivity
Yes.
in what the New York Times editors decide when they choose. It's not pure numbers.
Yeah.
They got a lot of things they think about when they decide whether or not to put something on a list. So you can qualify for it, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get on it.
Right.
And so pre-orders become important. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're an unknown person, like I'm really well known in my field, but
Mm-hmm.
outside of my field, I'm not that well known. So
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do, is build up my brand recognition over the next 4 months and really get myself out there,
Mm-hmm.
so that people, oh, Doug Knoll, he's the De-Escalate guy.
Yeah. And that's,
People
I
know
think,
who.
the key is the branding,
It's
branding
branded.
yourself and getting people to know who you are. Mm-hmm.
That's right. So that means, for me, it means LinkedIn, YouTube, doing long form video, short form video, LinkedIn posts, 2 a day, 5 days a week, having podcasts with
Yeah.
you.
Being on
I
podcast.
do. I'm probably right now. I'm doing probably 3 or 4 or 5 media appearances a week,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually going to be shifting my podcast a little bit. But I've got over 360 episodes, and I'm going to be doing more solo podcasts than I have never done a solo podcast before. Not that I can't do it. I've been interviewing people, like we're having a
Yeah.
conversation now. Start doing some solo podcasts. And then you take these long form things, you break them up, and you make them shorts, and
Sure.
you post everything all over the place on every social media account, and you just put yourself out there and hope, because
Yeah.
there's no guarantee, you hope that people start picking you up and start liking your stuff.
Yes, but the important thing is that you have a plan, and you had a plan before or while you were writing the book. Because if you don't have
That's
a
right.
marketing plan and you
You're
just
dead.
write the book and publish it and say, I hope someone buys it, which is
It will not
opposite of
work.
what you're doing. So,
That's right. So
yeah.
I wrote a 5 page spreadsheet for my market. After you've done it enough and you see what doesn't work, right? Now,
Yeah.
okay, now I got it figured out. And we're executing on the plan. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I'm going to be successful. That doesn't mean that it's going to be a bestseller. But what it does mean is I've got a better shot at it.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm really looking for. And the other thing to recognize is that you never make money off a book. You just don't make money, especially nonfiction. What you get, what the book does, is provide you credibility and open doors for speaking engagements, roundtables, places where people are going to pay you for your wisdom and knowledge. And
Yes.
that's where the money is.
Hmm.
There is no money in writing a book.
Yeah. I think it
Uh,
was Tim Ferriss that he made 30 cents with Tools of the Titans. And I was like,
yeah.
30 cents a book? What? But
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
normal
yeah.
for if
I,
you're traditionally published, and it was a big book too, and hardcover and in color.
yeah.
So cost a lot to
Yeah.
print that.
Yeah.
So
I get probably on De-Escalate, I'm probably getting $10,000, $12,000 in royalties every year. You can't make a living off of that. Maybe if you have for fiction writers, they're making that, but maybe they have 100 books out there,
yeah,
or romance writers. They just churn book after book after book, and after a while, small royalties add up to big royalties. But
right,
that's all volume business. So don't ever think about writing a book thinking you're going to make money at it. You're not.
yeah,
What the book does is it gives you the opportunity to get in front of people and get paid for it, and that's where the money is. So
right.
that means you've got to be a good public speaker. You got to be able to teach and show up, and you got
Mhm.
to know how to talk to people. So you can't be reclusive and do this work and expect to make money at it. It is not easy. Just because you write a book, as you point out, just because you write a book doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
If you can't market it, you're wasting your time.
yeah, I agree with that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show and telling us all your insight on publishing. We didn't talk about writing too much, but just tell us briefly, how did you write the books? Did
It's
you
really changed.
longhand or
It's
typeset?
changed a lot.
Okay, so start
Okay,
from the
so
first one.
early on, I find myself in a university library doing all the research, card catalogs,
Mhm.
going into the stacks, finding the books or the journals with all the stuff, reading the journals, taking notes, keeping track of citations, all manual, really slow and tedious.
Stuff that
Then
any 20-year-old would not have a clue what we
now I
had to
have a
go
clue about what
through
I'm talking
when
about.
we
Right.
had to study and find
That's right.
periodicals and all the things, right?
That's right. So now we move into the 20. Now we're in the 10. Now all of a sudden we can start finding stuff online, and
Mhm.
now we're starting to get resources. So now the research becomes easier because we can do it. We can do it online,
Mhm.
and that made life a lot simpler. Then AI comes to the fore. Now here's the thing about AI. I used AI extensively in writing Empathy Leadership, but AI
Mhm.
did not write the book. Um, I used Claude. I used all three:
Mhm.
ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. And when I'm doing any big project, I basically get into conversations with the AI agent. And I just start asking questions. They come back with information. 80% of it's right, 20% of it's just BS. I push back and say, no, that's not right. Go look at this. And they say, oh, you're right. I made a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yep.
And you go back and forth until they give you the information that you think is correct. Then you go double check it to make sure that it's right.
Yes.
I'll just give you an example. In the early drafts of the first chapter of Empathy Leadership, I had heard a story and I never verified it, but I'd heard a story. So I said, can you find the story about where the word soft skills came from? And I think it was ChatGPT, made it up.
They
Gave me
told you the story,
citations,
but it wasn't
and made it up.
real.
And
Yeah.
when I finally got around to site checking, I saw that this is totally bullshit. This is all made up. And these are false citations. So I had
Yes.
to rewrite all of the introduction to all the beginning of chapter one, which made it stronger. But
Yes.
AI is really powerful,
Yeah.
but do not trust it. The way I look at AI today is it's like a really dumb graduate assistant,
There you go.
really a dumb graduate assistant. It can do this scut work, but don't trust it.
Yeah.
And but AI accelerated
Yeah.
the speed at which I could write this book.
Yeah.
The productivity leverage was huge in terms of getting the research done, even
Mhm.
though you're going to go back and check it. But just having a dialogue and
Mhm.
bouncing ideas and formulating and making it more precise
Yeah. And AI
really,
learning
really
who
helped.
you are, I think helped a lot too, I'm sure. Like I know when we wrote our book, we used AI, but we also gave it a lot of information. We uploaded videos and
That's right. Oh
documents,
yeah, 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 yeah.
PDFs.
I
So it
uploaded all my
knew,
books.
yeah, it knows you. It knows of
That's
you
right.
and how you talk and how you think, but it also helps you so the
That's right.
conversations work out really well.
That's right. So I uploaded all my books. I
Mhm.
uploaded like 500 research papers. I gave it all this huge database of information, and then I said, go out and find more.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, I've got this platform. I can ask questions, push back,
Hmm.
and continually get better and better results. And all of a sudden, now the book starts to write itself.
Yes.
And I'll say, I need a story about this. And so it'll write the story. And I say, no, I don't like it. You got to change this and this. And I tell it what to do. And then it does it. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, okay, that's a story that's going to work here.
Great.
And so it's really powerful. But you just can't say, AI, write me a book.
Right.
Not
Exactly.
going to, it won't do that. It can't do.
Well, thanks, Doug, for being on the show today.
Okay,
Please
Jen.
go get his book, Empathy Leadership, and tell people where they can go. We can use the same link we interviewed him on Elite Expert Insider podcast. You can check that out as well. So
Yeah, if
where can they
people
go
want
to
to learn,
get your
yeah, if
information?
people want to learn more about my work and learn more about how to calm any angry person in 90 seconds or less, how to stop fights and arguments in your lives forever, you can go to Doug Knoll, DOUGNOLL /elite experts, all one word, no space between elite and experts, just all one word. And on that page, which will only be for people who are listening to this podcast and nobody else, you'll find a free ebook that you can download that talks about my work. You can order my fourth book, De-Escalate. I might even put up my fifth book. I should probably do that. I'll do that today. Put it up for pre-order. You
Yes.
can order an online course that can teach you how to calm any person in 90 seconds or less. And you can join my De-Escalate Academy, which is a free school community where you can learn how to listen to and name emotions. And now I'll put up the pre-order too.
Perfect. Thanks, Doug. And if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please share it with those who you think it would help. And of course, subscribe. We'll hope to see you next time on Elite Publishing Podcast.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.